The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. I don't know.
How can this show be so awful, Mr. McMahon? I didn't think it was.
Viagra on a pole match.
And Hogan, you big bald son of a bitch, kiss my ass.
Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
McMahon, the family, the Rock, they screwed us all.
Now you're the editor, right?
Mankind did it. Jumpy, beat. Goldberg steered Russo on the table.
I'm from New York.
I'll get downright nasty.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
I'm here with the great Kevin Nash. Kevin, it took us about 2 hours here to connect on Skype, you and me. Bro, an all-time record. And Kevin, I got to go through the list of some of the people I was able to hook up with. Mr. Bob Backlund, Lex Luger. Bro, how about this one? King Kong Bundy figured it out quicker than you did, Kevin.
As Scott Hall says, the outsiders are low-tech rednecks. So.
Yeah, you know what I think it is, bro? I think it's like you're one of those, what is it, a Svengali, and something real simple you can't do if you're not solving the problems of the world?
No, but when I pulled it up, I had like 5 accounts. And, you know, I gave my brain to the concussion syndrome people, the CTE, for a reason, because my short-term memory, I mean, it's not good.
Well, bro, if they use that brain and transplant it in somebody else's head, they're never going to be able to get on Skype for the rest of their lives, bro.
Well, they take my brain, they're going to be able to pour it into theirs. So, I mean, it'll be liquid.
Yeah. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good.
Everything's good. Life is good, Kevin?
I mean, you always want more, right?
Kevin, in looking at your background, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's hard to look at your background and look at your history. You know, listen, I know, you know, you fell in love with basketball. That's what you really wanted to do. You know, you had a little run-in with the coach, I think, when you were going to college. So you go play overseas. You got a little success overseas, but that's where, you know, you had a massive injury. And basically your basketball career is prematurely over.
Right.
At that point, you joined the military.
No, opposite.
Okay.
I smacked my coach.
Yeah.
I smacked my coach.
Kevin, why does one smack their coach?
Because he puts his hands on me in front of my peers.
Okay.
And he says, and I got elbowed in the face during a game. And, you know, this is back in the two referee era. So he didn't see it. Nobody saw it. You know, I saw it. So when the guy elbowed me, I punched the guy in the side of the head. Guy came off their bench. I punched him. The Kentucky State Patrol or whatever the hell they were that came on the floor and ushered me off. You know, and then but we were still winning. Then we ended up losing the game in Kentucky. And after it was done, instead of my coach putting me in the locker room where he should have, he put me on the bench. And we were the Big Orange. So they were throwing oranges at me the rest of the second half.
Right.
While I'm sitting there with my warm-ups on. And what people don't realize, you know, it's just like, I'm 20.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 20 years old, man. I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We come back. He's 6'5". He was a Bobby Knight, disciple. And he put his hands on me, grabbed me by my as I was walking down the corridor, he grabbed me by my left, strap on my jersey, and he swung me around. He goes, "You happy, hothead? You happy you cost us the game?" I just pushed away from my guy inside. We go inside, and instead of talking about the game, he goes right and stands dead in front of me. I'm sitting in my locker. He says, "You want to hit somebody, hit me?" I said, just back off. I said, "You want to hit somebody, hit me?" And I got up and I just open hand, just smacked him in the side of the face. I guess I was Spreewell before Spreewell was cool, but it was one of those situations where like I was always that kid. Like you don't put your hands on me.
Yeah.
You might beat my ass, but I'm gonna go. I'll always go. I'll go tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's just in me. I'm not somebody's bitch. I'm just not that dude. Thing was though that I had 14 witnesses that saw him put his hands on me. I've always been the locker room lawyer. So when I got back to Knoxville, I got a lawyer, and I was ready to go all the way with it.
So you were not expelled. You were not thrown out of school.
No. They had a PR crisis, and they knew it because I was going to file charges. I was going to go after because
Kevin. Let me ask you this, bro. That's the Kevin Nash I know and love. But Kevin, how was that guy created? Like, bro, anybody else would have been crapping their drawers. Oh my God, I hit my coach. I'm going to get thrown out of school. I'm going to go to jail. Whatever the case may be. What gave you that mindset to go the other way with it?
I wasn't wrong. Scott Hall has one of the greatest things of all time, he says. Like, I remember when Sags, like, he threw the chair at Sags, and Sags came in the ring in Shreveport and hit him with like 5 shoot punches. I turned around and I saw Scott was all busted open. And I'm just like, I went in the back. I went in our locker room and I got Sting's bat, and I just swung it right over Knobs' head. And I said, "I will kill you both." And Scott came in behind me. He says, "Man, let it go." He says, "They think they're right."
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing, man. When you think, when you think you're right, and more so when you believe you're right, then there's a very calming situation. It's just like, I didn't do anything wrong. I protected myself on the floor. They didn't see it. So in retrospect, then they come back and they sit in the room and they watch the game film, and they see this guy cheap shot me and elbow me in my temple. So now it's just like, well, geez, man, like the reason this kid's playing on our team in the first place is he's our enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
He's the toughness factor of our program.
Mm-hmm.
So why? Of course he's going to fight. That's why Kentucky elbowed me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I in Knoxville I hit 5 of 5 shots and beat them. I mean, it was just I came in and killed them. So it was just like they wanted to take me out of the equation, and they did so.
Mm-hmm.
So when that all came down, now it's a situation of, the athletic director's there, the coach is there. I've got my attorney, and they did the old, well, we'll just let this go. And then I said, cool. So we went to a press conference, and I completely lied and said there was no physicality. I said it was just, two very competitive people, both coach and I, in a disagreement. It became verbal. And I just lied, and I ended up starting the next game, which was Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but I was ready to, if they were going to pull my scholarship, I mean, I was going to go for cash.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, when you grow up in a city like Detroit, man, there's like, you meet street hustlers 24/7. Like, there's people doing the game all the time. So you learn the game, and you learn, it's just like, it's a different street smart. And I think that I think that Motown's just a different town. They always say Detroit boys are different than anybody else.
Yeah.
Later on, an RA that was in our dorm, got in my face, and I punched him in the stomach. And then I got in a fight with a fraternity guy. And then my final straw was I had about a 7 p.m. Black Studies class across the quadrant, and season was over, man. I was in my junior year, and I had a blunt. I was walking across campus smoking a blunt, and on my way to class, and this girl walks up and she goes, "Oh, so you're just gonna walk across campus and smoke weed?" And I said, "Well, it's not weed, it's a Turkish cigarette." I said, "I know weed." I said, "Bitch, freeze, man. Back the fuck up." And she said, "I'm so-and-so." I think her last name was Zimmerman. "I'm so-and-so Zimmerman, and I'm with the Student Disciplinarian Council." And I'm like, ugh. Oh, and I already painted these hemlocks all over campus on the walls. And when they took our hostages, I went over to the Foreign Student Union building, and I said, I painted this character. It was called the Grand Hemlock. And I got on the shoulders of Pat Williams, who was like a 6'5" offensive lineman. And I spray paint this thing that says the Grand Hemlock says "Death to the Iranians, free the American, free the Americans," and that made the front of the college newspaper the next day. So I just kept doing. I just kept spraying these hemlocks everywhere, tagging everything, which is that's a city thing. You tag shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess in Knoxville they just didn't find it very fun.
Yeah, Knoxville of all places.
Yeah. So the Dean Burchett was the guy's name, was in charge of student conduct. He brings me in, puts a piece of paper in front of me, goes, "Draw a hemlock." Like I'm going to draw.
Bro, it's Knoxville, Tennessee.
Exactly. Like Snoopy. Okay, you're not the one.
Yeah, Kevin, there's something about the South, isn't there? There's just something about the South, bro.
And I love it. But at the same time, when I went down there, my first couple of days walking to class, somebody walked by me and go, "Hey, how are you?" And I put my hand on my wallet. I'm like, what? I don't know this dude. What's his game?
Yeah.
They're just friendly. They're just nice.
Hey, Kevin, I'll tell you this, though, bro, and I'm sure, you growing up in Detroit, you experienced this, because this is exactly what I experienced in New York. Bro, let's face it, in New York, you've got every nationality, walking the planet. Kevin, I have to tell you, when I moved to Atlanta for WCW, bro, and this is 99, bro, I had no idea the level of racism that still was alive and well in the year 2000. It was an education. I never experienced anything like that in New York. When I went to Atlanta, Georgia, bro, it blew my mind.
I always say this: if you go through a city and there's a guy in a green sports coat, there's racism.
Yeah. So, Kevin, isn't this where you go to Germany to play ball?
Yeah. Well, I go overseas, and I get in some trouble, and I go back home after I get kicked out of college, and I get in some trouble, and it's basically a kind of a join the army or put on an orange jumpsuit.
Right.
So I say, in Stripes, it just came out. So I'm saying, what do you got, like a 16-week program? That's perfect for me. I'm going to come out of lean meat party machine.
See, Kevin, that was where I was going. At this point, once you get kicked out of college, is there a game plan? Or is Kevin Nash just kind of going day by day?
Oh, dude. I mean, I see stripes, and I get off a bus in Anniston, Alabama. I got drill sergeants, I mean, motherfucking me, spitting in my face. And it's like these guys that are getting off the bus with me are panicking. They're like buying this shit, you know? And like they're yelling at me, but they're the top of their hats at my chin.
Right.
You know, I'm looking at them going like, are you and I'm laughing. They go, oh, you think this is funny? You know, drop and do 20. I'm like, fuck, dude, I'll do 200. You know?
So that couldn't have worked out well, bro.
Oh, joining the military was probably the 3 best years of my growth as a man.
Right.
Because it's real simple. Anybody that's ever been in jail will tell you the same thing. You're institutionalized. So immediately it is this. My locker box is fucking squared away. My shoes are squared away. My boots are spit shine. My uniform's got a crease. I don't buy the bullshit brass that you don't have to use Russo. I buy the old school brass because that's what they want to look at. They want to see you a commitment to discipline. Mm-hmm. You know? And so I worked even through basic training. Like about the first week in, we made a raid with our gas masks on, and we went down and attacked with sweat socks with soap on it. We attacked the platoon below us. So, you know, it was like the middle of the night on a Saturday, and it was just harmless fun. But I mean, I organized it and instigated it. So they pulled us in there, Captain Black, you know, and I'm thinking like, dude, they're sending us home. So they weeded out, and there was 9 of us downstairs. We're standing on the tarmac. And they said, who organized this? And I said, I did. They said, everybody else dismissed. And they got in front of me. There were 6 of them, and they were screaming at me and yelling at me. Then the next day, they made me the leader of my squad. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like, all right, this guy's got enough leadership to get these assholes to go down and cause some shit.
Yeah.
Now let's see if we can. So long story short, now it's the last week of basic training. We got a 22-mile force march. So we had this guy named Hollingsworth. He was kind of overweight. And they made me carry the M60 machine gun, which weighed 27 pounds. And I got a 60-pound rucksack. And it's up and down hills in northern Alabama, and if you don't make this, you know, if you don't make this march, you don't make it. You get recycled. You go back 8 weeks. So this Hollingworth kid he was like my pet project to get through this, because the kid could shoot. You know, he was a good marksman. So we get going, and it's about mile 16, man, and he's falling way behind. And I'm walking up and down with my squad, like, keeping him up, and he's falling too far back. So I said, fuck him, man. I said, give me your rucksack. So I got my rucksack, his rucksack, and my M16 and my M60. You know, we end up getting him, you know, dragging his ass basically to make it through the whole thing. So we get down to the end of the hill, and the deuce and a halves are there, and they're loading us up to take us back. And we're like, you know, we're kind of at the end of the, you know, we're like the tail end, but I get his ass over the top hill, and, you know, he's got his arm on my back so I can kind of stop him from like falling down the hill. We get down there, and, you know, they just said, you know, nobody told you to fucking take his, you know, who the fuck do you think you are? So I'm like, oh shit. So they said, when you get done, you need to be in front of the man. So I said, all right, man. So I'm thinking, Jesus, man, like fucking, I busted my ass, this fucking guy. I'm going to get recycled. Mm-hmm. So they pull me in there, and they had me at fucking just attention. I'm just standing there. And my drill sergeant was a Collinsworth. Captain Black came in. He cut a promo on me. And the thing was, man, it's just like, looking back, like it's such a fucking work.
Yeah.
Like these guys' job is to fucking, to get you ready to fucking, but they're good dudes.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid dick, man. They get up at 4 o'clock banging trash cans, waking your ass up. They're doing it week after week after week. Your ass goes, and there's another fucking group of guys following in that they got to scream at for the next fucking 18 weeks.
Yeah.
So I got in there, and he said, at ease. He said, why don't you sit down? So now I'm thinking they're going to fucking put paperwork in front of me. They pull a fucking ice cold Budweiser 16 ounce and put it in front of me. He said, you want a beer? And I said, I'm thinking like, okay, this is like,
Right.
like, what the fuck is this? I said, yes, sir, and he said, well, he opened it and handed it to me, and I took a sip out of it, and all we had was 3-2 beer on one day. We had beer one day out of the whole time I was there in 18 weeks. So this is like a real Budweiser beer. I'm just like, they gave me another one. They were trying to get me to join and be a drill sergeant. They were just like, why don't you go to drill school? Like, don't go to your permanent duty station. I was an MP, and it was just like, no, man, I want to go do my permanent duty. But it was real close, man. Like I enjoyed the military so much, and the discipline and everything else, and the camaraderie. But that's what I got when I got into pro wrestling.
Yeah.
I got the same thing. The discipline, the camaraderie, to this day, we just, Scotty Steiner just opened the Shoney's. Yeah, up in Acworth, Georgia, and I almost missed my flight because we just sat around putting each other over.
Yeah.
Like all of us. It was Jeff was there, and Scott, and Robbie, and Buff, and me. It was just like, like that crew of guys that, man, I knew Robbie and Scotty, 2 years before I was at the Cheetah. We trained at the same gym. That's how I got in the business, basically, was finding out what those guys made.
Yeah.
But then from there, I went to my permanent duty station, which was Gießen. And I was walking across the post one day, and we had a colonel that was in charge of our base. We didn't have a general. We had a full bird colonel. And when their car came by, you had to stop and salute it. So, car came by, I stopped and saluted, and the car backed up. I'm like, did we fuck up? Window went down. He goes, hey, big man, you play ball? I said, yeah. He says, where'd you play ball at? I said, Tennessee. And you can see his eyes. He goes, you need to be at Miller Hall tonight for practice. I said, I don't have any shoes. He said, what size do you wear? I said, 15s. He said, we'll get them for you. I went there, went to basketball practice, and basically I just played basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my duty, but, I played basketball, and that's what I did. And I was in 5th Corps. I was the 5th Corps leading scorer. We went down to Italy and played in the tournament, and I was leading the score in the tournament. And we played all against a bunch of European pro teams. And one of the teams, when I came back, said, we'd like to offer you a contract. So while I was still finishing up in the Army, I was playing on Fridays and Saturdays with them. And then I just, when I had to go to Frankfurt, sit in the embassy, get a passport when I de-roast out. And then I just stayed over there and played for a couple of years. And my girlfriend was, she worked at Central Accounting Division in Gießen. I was playing in Gießen. And it just worked out great. They gave me, I had a nice little, probably 1,000 square foot, little crib. And I got a little BMW. And, it was just like, I was playing ball. And I tore my knee out. And when I tore my knee out, then I came home, worked the assembly line. Had a couple of surgeries, worked at a strip club in Detroit, some Baptist.
So, and Kevin, this whole time, is there a goal? Or are you just kind of going from place to place to place? I mean, now that you can't play basketball, you sure as hell don't want to work on an assembly line, especially after you experienced it. You go work a strip club, but what's the end game in your mind at this point?
Well, once I got to the strip club, like now I'm probably 295, 300. I got long black hair. And I pretty much, get to pick whoever I want every night I go home. So now it's just like I'm the king of France.
So you're living in the moment.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And you know what? To this day, man, I tell everybody, so many people live in the past, and you can't live in the past. Nothing you can do to change the past. You go to bed tonight, that's gone. If you live in the past, and then if you make plans for the future, there is no future. My dad proved me that.
Yeah, that's a great attitude, but you learn the hard way, man.
I wake up every morning, and I get the most I can out of that day, because that probably, in my estimation, because of my father, that's the last day I'm going to face on earth.
Yeah.
Try not to, I've been shitty to people, but I really don't think I've ever been shitty to people with preconceived malice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I don't wake up in the morning and say, fuck him, or fuck this person, do that. I don't do that. If you fuck with me, like the other day, this guy's in an RV and he just puts his turn signal on and cuts me off. He starts coming over on me, driving a Mustang. He's got like Quebec tags. I live down in Florida, and so I hit my horn. I got to get over in the turn lane. I hit my horn. The guy flips me off. So because there is a God, the next light we catch, which is the longest light on Atlantic. It's like a 4-minute light, and the minute we hit the light, we hit it like we stop at the same time, and I open my door and I stand out of my car because out of that little tiny Mustang, everybody fucks with me in that Mustang. Once they realize who's in that I dropped the top on that convertible. Don't nobody fuck with me.
Yeah.
But because I got the limo tent, so I just, and I wasn't like irate. I just looked at him. I said, "Where you from, dude?" And he tells me. I said, that's called a turn indicator. I said, "You indicated that you wanted to turn. I was already inside your vehicle, so when you put the indicator on, I could see it, but I could see it halfway through my vehicle. So as you came over, I said, you pushed me over in the middle lane." I said, then on top of all that, I said, you're in the wrong, and then you flipped me off. I said, let me tell you something about Florida. I said, 9 out of 10 people are carrying a concealed weapon, and I'm one of the 9. I got my hands on top of my car. I'm not trying to cause shit.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling them, like, dude, if you're from Quebec, wherever the fuck you're from, unless you're one of the fucking Italians on the north end of fucking Montreal, you need to cool the fuck down. Yeah. You're gonna get zapped in this fucking state.
Yeah.
But the thing was, like, at this point in my life, at 56, almost 57, like, my voice was never like any different than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, at this point, it's just like, the Bible says, gray hair fucking means wisdom. And I really feel that I've got like wisdom in life. Like,
yeah.
It's just like, and I don't think that guy will make that mistake again.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, I'm gonna move ahead because if I don't talk to you about wrestling a little bit, people will kill me. But I'm not going to talk about the typical wrestling stuff. I'm going to talk about things that I was interested in that you and I have never gotten to speak about before, and I doubt that there are a lot of people out there that would ask you some of these questions.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
You know how much I love basketball.
Yes.
I've been to the Basketball Hall of Fame one time.
Yes.
With what person?
Right here, baby. Me and you. We sat there, and they had all those hoops, and we were shooting foul shots. I'll never forget it, bro.
Remember I had the torn tricep.
Yes. Yeah, bro. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
My elbow was like the size of a basketball.
Yeah. Speaking of I'll never forget, because this is going to lead to my next line of questioning, I'll never forget one of the first interviews I ever had to do for the WWF magazine was you and Shawn, and you guys busted my freaking balls the whole time.
And the picture of us flipping you off before.
Yes, and I'll never forget that. But I want to talk to you about Shawn, Kevin, because Shawn did me such a huge favor. He was the first guest on my show, and it was an honor. Kevin, I have no problem saying this, and I've worked with everybody that you have pretty much, and I love a lot of guys, and so many guys were talented out the yin yang. I have no problem saying this publicly. Shawn Michaels was the best all-around entertainer I ever worked with. Period. End of story. Ever.
There's nobody. I've always said Shawn Michaels is Michael Jordan.
Yes. Kevin, you want to hear something like this? Will tell you what a girly man I am. This will tell you what a girly man I am. Around last Thanksgiving it was. I don't do conventions much, Kevin, and I'll tell you why, bro. Kevin, you know how the wrestling business is, and like, bro, you never know who you have heat with. And like, in my mind, I always have to go through the Rolodex because there are a certain amount of guys out there that didn't get over because of the writer. Nothing they did. Everything was my fault. So you always got to sit there and wonder, okay, bro, who do I have heat with? Is Cortney going to come up to me and cause a scene, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I try to stay away from those things. I went to one back in November because, quite frankly, Kevin, I needed the money. And I saw Shawn. And, of course, I stopped everything. I went up to Shawn. I was really touched by how happy he was to see me. Shortly after that, Kevin, I called him. And I got to tell you, Kevin, I don't know what it was. Kevin, I wept on the phone like a little girl because I told Shawn, I said, bro, you have to understand something, from what I'm telling you. It means everything to me to be able to tell you you are the greatest all-around entertainer I ever worked with, Shawn. I was crying, Kevin, because Kevin, I know the wrestling business, and when they're done with you, they tend to kick you to the curb.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? And for me to be able to tell him that meant so much to me. But Kevin, on my show now, I go back and I look at Attitude Era, and I do like the director's cut of them, and I'm revisiting Shawn. Bro, the guy was freaking incredible. And here's what people don't know about Shawn. Bro, the way he got Triple H over when Triple H was up and coming, the way he got China over. When people talk about Shawn Michaels, they buy into the character and they think, oh, Shawn was selfish. It was about me, this and that. No, bro, he got those guys over. And people don't understand that because his character was so freaking strong.
Every night we went out, Diesel did one thing. Whatever Diesel did in the match, Diesel changed the complexity of the match, and Shawn would pile drive him, super kick him, whatever it was. And we came back from Seattle one night, and I fucked Crush, and Shawn got the finish, and we were coming back, and after it, like, Crush snuck in, and he hit me with something that got me down, and he hit Shawn with his finish. So he rolled out because they were keeping Crush strong at that point because we were going to SummerSlam with him. And this is in Seattle, and they had the barricades too close. So I'm carrying Shawn like a rag doll, like in my arms. And fucking, man, the dude just reaches across and punches me right in the jaw. And I just said to myself, like, if I set Shawn down and do anything, it's going to kill this. So I'm just going to no-sell it even though the guy rung my bell. So I walked back and I said to Shawn, I said, you know, I'm getting the heat. He says, no, dude, you're not getting the heat. We're getting the heat. He says, a year ago, Crush wouldn't have done the job. He said, you know, and that was the whole thing about Shawn, was he was so smart to the business. And like, to me, like my great, like people say like, what was your greatest period of your career? My greatest period of my career was sitting ringside watching Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels work 30 minutes every night, switching that IC belt back and forth, sitting in the car every night, watching them tweak, watch this work, that worked, maybe that double. We went to the double count out twice too soon. Like I learned the business. I mean, it would be like the Dodge brothers and Henry Ford determining how to make cars.
Yeah.
You know, in my Detroit analogy, I mean, I was so blessed to be put with Shawn Michaels, and Shawn made the call. But he called Robbie and he said, "Man, he said, can you get like, I want Vinny Vegas as my bodyguard." And for him to put me in the Hall of Fame, you talk about a fucking night.
Well, I could have done without the Zbyszko 3-hour speech, but it was a wonderful night. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really. I didn't pay attention because I snuck wine in the back. But, I mean, it's just that, and Shawn was so, like, you know, Shawn's a devout Christian.
Yeah.
But Shawn that night was the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he was.
Because he couldn't put me in and not be him.
Yeah.
He reverted back.
Yeah.
And he didn't use profanity, but his tone, his mannerisms, it's just like, so many people like, oh, he's changed. Yeah, of course, we've all changed. We've grown, we've matured. Like, and that's one thing I got to tell you, Vince. Like, when you say, you know, you go to these conventions and you have heat, if you still have heat with somebody, that person should be sent to Saudi Arabia.
That's what I say, bro. It's life's too short, Kevin.
Jeez, man, we did fucking fake wrestling.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You know what? You and Ed busted your fucking asses. One of my favorite fucking times ever is when you guys like came in to fucking WCW, and I said, "Dude, this is OK Corral." Like, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I said and they made. Remember, they made the move to try to like circumvent and.
Yeah.
Those stories are books.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know what, Kevin? When I went to the convention where I just saw you in Dallas, bro. Who did I see? And in the corner of my eye, and I immediately went up to him, gave him a big hug and a kiss. Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan.
I love Sully.
And I said to him, Kevin, listen, I don't know if there's any heat. I said, I love you, bro. I love you. You know, wrestling is wrestling. Stuff happened, but man, I love you. I'm still a fan of yours to this day. And, bro, he was so open to me and so nice, and it meant a lot to me, Kevin.
We all get to that point where, you know, we're so turf-orientated.
Yeah.
We're taught that. Protect your turf. Protect your turf.
Yeah.
We were smart enough as the Clique to protect the turf with 5 guys. I mean, that was the beauty. But that's, you know, I look at it, man, and it's just everything the Clique did for 15 years was ruin the business. And then 12 years later, you know, we fucking invented the wheel.
Yep.
You know, it's like,
Kevin, I want to talk to you about a couple of things now, and they're very specific for me.
Sure.
Because I never told you, like, you experienced something, but, Kevin, there was a whole other side to it you have no idea about, which I think you'll find so freaking entertaining, okay? I want to talk about the Four Corner Madison Square Garden incident. Because, Kevin, here's what you don't know about it, okay, bro? Kevin, at the time, you have to understand, I got my start writing thank God to Bill Watts. Because Bill Watts was Mr. Screw the red tape. I'm not going through HR. I'm not sitting down with Lisa Wolf. He came up to me and said, kid, would you like to sit in on the creative meetings? If Bill Watts would have never done that, it would have never happened. Unfortunately, Kevin, a week later, Bill gets fired. So now I'm kind of sitting in on creative, but I'm kind of in no man's land. But Kevin, this is a time where this is what it was creatively. It was Cornette and Bruce, and I was sitting in with them, not saying a word, just listening, okay? Kevin, I was with Cornette and Bruce the day after Madison Square Garden. Yeah, Kevin, you would have thought that the four of you lined up and raped Stephanie McMahon in front of Vince for like 10 hours. That was the equivalent of the crime you guys created, that they wanted you fired immediately. I mean, bro, and I was just sitting there like, are you like serious? It was unbelievable to me. I want to ask you a little bit about that night. Kevin, was that discussed beforehand, or was that a spur of the moment at the end? Did you know the consequences? Did you not care about the consequences because that was more important to you guys as friends? Give me a little background of that night.
I will tell you the absolute truth of that entire situation. We had just came off like a 23-day European trip. And this is when you weren't allowed to do like any narcotics, no smoking. Smoking was huge, but absolutely no steroids. For 3 years, there were no steroids. For 2 years before that in my career, WCW gave you a 10% bonus if you pass the steroid test. So as Vinny Vegas with a Hawaiian shirt on, I'm not taking steroids. I'm gonna take 15 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't break any rules. None of us come up dirty for anything except Shawn, who was eating meal for meal with me. You remember, and I know you remember the cover where I'm holding the television and he's inside.
Yeah.
And I mean, he looks like Fat Elvis.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a derby on him because he's just eating. Yeah, he comes up for Stanozol, which is a cutting drug. That's a drug Ben Johnson was caught when he set the world record for the 100 meter. Shawn would never, I mean, it was just like one of those things like, all right, everybody had, like, the beers were flowing every night, shots were flowing every night. Couple of Stanozol tablets 2 or 3 nights in a row. Shawn's going to show up dirty, but we lived with it. He went home, took the belt home, and that's what made the ladder match work. But so now it's like we go to Europe. So Scott and I, we partaked in a little bit of the illegal smokage during the trip. And one time, like, we had it to the point where, like, we just kicked the vent open on the top of the bus, made a can, and smoked, like, right on the bus on the way to the town. Because it was one of those things where it's just like, at that point, it was just like, we're gone. And we both, Scott has, like, a really great story. Like, he went in and asked, like on the merchandise, if you could just move it, like, the decimal point over, like, 1 point, like, it makes a big difference to the Hall family. Does it make that big of a difference to the McMahon family?
Right.
Because neither one of us wanted to leave. See, people don't understand this. People think like, oh yeah, you guys left and got like walked into this NWO angle. The pay-per-view before we went was when Big Show was on top of Cobo Hall in the monster truck battle. Got like knocked off like 12 stories. survived came in and battled the Yeti.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're going into.
Right.
So, all this, I mean, and, you know, so at my first Garden show, the house was 129 with Hogan on top. This is Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash on top in the cage, Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Razor Ramon, a semi-main event, $329,000 house, the largest house they've ever had that wasn't a pay-per-view.
Wow.
So, yeah, okay, I didn't draw. Fuck you. We turned this company around. This company is viable.
Right.
So we knew like we were going to leave because the deals were too sweet. And as we drove over, I remember we were in a white aluminum minivan, the four of us. We're driving over, and Scott and I were really bummed over the fact that this would be our last time to go to the Garden, because Vince had that non-compete, so like WCW was never going to show up at the Garden. So this is it, man. This is our last night in the Garden. And like we said, like, man, like you know, it'd be cool to be able to say a farewell or something. And Sean goes, well, like, you know, after our match, like, why don't the four of us go out there and we do something? I'll get it cleared with Vince. So after the matches are over, we're originally supposed to go out with Vince to Smith and Walensky's and have steak and wine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the plan. So, you know, Sean walks in and says to Vince, like, you know, I want to do this with my boys tonight. And Vince, you know, as Vince always does, is it how important is it that important to you? And Sean said, yeah. He says, well, then just do it. So again, without malice, we do it. And, you know, Scott goes out and says, you sold out, you sold out, you sold out, you sold out. Do the match. Please stay, please stay, please stay. They go back. We go out. Sean super kicks me, steps across me, walks down the stairs, takes about 5 or 6 steps, stops, turns, looks, pregnant beat, boom, looks, shakes his head, walks his way back in, gives me the Betsy Ross, you know, holds me in his arms, you know.
Right.
As he's trying to awaken me. And at that point, down comes Hunter and down comes Scott. We get in the coin, we just kind of shake hands, and it was just like the pure emotion of the moment, knowing that 4 guys that just spent 3 years together weren't going to see each other for probably quite some time, and probably, especially not in the Garden, which was our mecca at that point. I mean, that was still, man, like, you know, the Garden was the mecca of the WWF/WWE. So we just wanted to have this moment. It was for us. We weren't trying to destroy kayfabe or, you know, expose the business or send anybody in a tizzy. It was just for us. And fuck, we busted our asses, man. You know, we busted our asses to dig that place out. You know, they came out and you know, I still was selling. It wasn't like I popped up or didn't break kayfabe anyway that way. I still sold super kick. They got me up to my feet, and then we all hugged in the corner, and the crowd exploded. Well, all of us work without a net. We're not those kind of guys that lay the match down, you know, verbatim, like, I'll punch you, you kick me, I'll take a breath, you take a breath, maybe you look over your left shoulder. We're not those guys.
Right.
We just kind of, you know, so the moment became very organic. And we're looking in the crowd, and there's people crying, there's people standing and cheering. And so we went to the corners and did the click sign. And when we did that, the place erupted. We went back in, and Scott and I went off to one side, and Hunter and Sean went to the other side. And we kind of did like the Japanese, like, you know, super fighting spirit thing.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's us against you now. But it was basically, like, as we always said, you know, it's, you know, click north, click south. Like, you guys run, you know, click north, we'll run click south. And we'll run the wrestling business. That was our goal, you know, divide and conquer. And, of course, the boys, knowing that Scott and I were leaving, which opens those 2 spots, I mean, it was like, throwing chum into, jaws. So by the time we got through the curtain, as I walked through like to say something to Vince just turned his back to me. And I remember looking at Shawn going, well, it looks like Smith and Walensky.
Out of the question.
That ain't going to happen. And it just, it took a life of its own. And then it's such a rotten, horrible thing. But then, like, the NXT girls try to book it and read. And it's like we did shit because we loved each other and we had each other's backs. And it was, like I said, once again, I hate to use the word organic, but it was organic. Yeah. Everything we did was organic. It wasn't preconceived. That wasn't a work that night. That was four guys that loved each other saying goodbye. Yeah. And saying goodbye, if you're a Yankee, you want to say goodbye in Yankee Stadium. You don't want to say goodbye in Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
We were Yankees. Yeah. We're all Yankees, and we want to say goodbye in Yankee Stadium. That was that night, and and then again, in retrospect, it was eye-opening for everybody because they realized that the people really wanted to see behind the curtain.
Yeah. Bro, do you have any idea? Because I bet you, knowing the kind of guy he is, he probably never shared this with you. I don't know, but I was there, bro. Bro, do you know how they punished and tortured Triple H after that, man?
Oh, they did. I know they did.
Oh, bro.
And it kind of really upset me that it would have been the other way around, and if Shawn and Scott would have left and I had the belt, I would have protected Paul.
Yeah.
I'd have thrown the belt in their face and said, "Fuck us both."
Yeah. They tortured him, man. I'll never forget that. Kevin, let me ask you this. Here's another incident I remember, and I'll tell you what the other side is. I'll never forget, bro, when you and Scott told Vince you were leaving. Bruce Prichard took me out to dinner, and he kind of broke the news to me, and it was kind of like, poor, pitiful us. Vince can't afford to pay them what, Turner and WCW was paying them. That was the story I got from Bruce. What I never got to talk to you about or ask you was, did you give Vince the option to match?
Yes.
Okay, and was that basically it? Did he basically say, I can't afford to?
Can't. He said, if I do it for you, I'm going to have to do it for Mark. I'm going to have to do it for Brett. I'm going to have to do it for Shawn.
But why? Why would he have to do it for everybody else? It was your contracts that were up. It was another offer that was on the table. He would deal with their contracts when their contracts came up. Why?
Well, I think the reason was that because that crew was so tight. Like the minute we got that offer, we made sure that all the top guys and our friends knew that, like, hey, this is the option with our favorite nations clause. Taker coming over. And I don't know whether all I know is, as Taker got closer to the end of his contract, he no longer was the dead man. He became the American badass. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there had to have been thoughts in his mind that I can't take the Undertaker, but I can take any biker, gimmick over.
Right.
I'm not speaking for Mark, but when I watched the evolution of that character, it was, but it was also very Attitude Era. Everybody became more their persona of their real life than they were a character.
I think it's fair to say, if we go back and we look at history at that moment in time, I think it's fair to say, if Vince McMahon would have paid you, there would have been no Monday Night Wars, there would have been no Attitude Era, there would have been no boom in the wrestling business like we saw. I think that's very fair to say, correct?
I think so. And my own thing was always this, and I've said this several times. We built the Saturn V to go to the moon, and at WCW. And just before the Armstrong flight was ready to take off, Vince walked up to the capsule kicked Armstrong in the ass. He says, "I got it from here." And that's what he did. I mean, we showed him what the fans wanted, and there was no way that you were ever going to outproduce Kevin and Vince. And I mean, an entertainment company that had wrestling wasn't going to outproduce a wrestling company that had wrestling. I was so proud to be a part of the WWE family when they started the show at WrestleMania. It was such a spectacle. Optically, it actually at times challenged Avatar. I mean, just to see 101,000 people in a building with that kind of production, with that kind of lighting, with each, with the wires coming out, with the light, with everybody with the cell phones, and I mean, it was just. I thought that WrestleMania. I mean, people can say what they want to about it, but I sat there for 4 hours and was highly entertained.
Yeah, Kevin, there's no way you and Scott could have even imagined the impact that would have had on WCW. You two, I mean, you couldn't have. Did you?
No.
When did you realize it, bro? When did you realize, holy shit, something big is about to go down here?
When we would do a 2-hour, we'd do a 2-hour Nitro, and the people would wait and wait and wait for Scott and I to go to a portal and get hit by a spotlight. And that's all we did that night. We just showed up. They'd hit us with a spotlight. We'd stand there for 30 seconds and we'd go back in, and the crowd would erupt because they knew the outsiders were in the house. And I can see, and I'll say this to Steve, Rock, anybody else's face. Name somebody that's ever got that response without coming down to the ring and cutting a promo. We got that response with a 30-second spotlight spot. And people thought it was real. I remember one time we were in a plane flying back, and Bischoff said, and this is nothing against Eric, because I mean he was like Patrick Swayze in the first Point Break. I mean, he was riding that big wave. He said, "Man, we're on fire." I said, "No, dude, you don't even get it." The two top guys from the WWE, WWF at the time. I'm so programmed now because I do network work that you can't see WWF.
Yeah.
But like two guys from the WWF have come down here, and the entire viewing population actually thinks that the two of us can beat the fuck out of your entire roster.
That's a shoot too, bro. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like with baseball bats, like we can hold your entire crew off.
Yeah. Kevin, I got to ask you this, and bro, I know you. You're all about business, and bro, this move, obviously, you guys moving over there, I mean, bro, just completely change the pay structure for anybody whoever lace up a pair of boots after that. No question about that, and they should all thank you for that, because before that move, it wasn't that way. But Kevin, I got to ask you this. Now, you didn't leave on bad terms outside of you didn't get your steak and your wine. But now, all of a sudden, bro, when you're at WCW and you're pounding your old company and your old friends, bro, they're going down with the ship. Taker, all these guys, you gave your blood and sweat and tears. Triple H, I mean, all of them. Vince. Are those thoughts crossing your mind? Because like I said, bro, it's not like you left on bad terms and you had screw you, now we're going to put the screws to you. It wasn't that, but when you realize, I mean, damage was really starting to be done, and it was affecting friends that you work with. Did that affect you at all, or was it just business, bro?
No, it's Jim Ross. I don't know if it was Meltzer. He did an interview in one of the sheets, and he said that they had to lay off like 35 office people because of the numbers and what was going on. We both worked there, man. You know how it is. Like, you know everybody. And the thing I've always respected the most about Vince is, and especially in those days when it was a private, a family-run company, is he was, he had maybe 500 people on his payroll, but those 500 people were taking care of 10 people. So it became 5,000 people, and those 5,000 people take care of 3 people. The trickle-down effect of what Vince was doing on his dime. I take care of people in my family, but to take care of that, the magnitude of that and the pressure that he had to feel as, Turner, who had unlimited money, it was just, it hurt. It hurt. It was hard. It wasn't, oh, I showed you, Vince. It was like when they rebounded, I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
I had by that time, I had a 5-year deal. I was getting my money no matter what.
Yeah.
Like when they were coming back and they'd beat us one week, we'd beat them one week. I didn't have a fucking problem with it.
Were you confident, Kevin, that they'd rebound?
I've told the story. I just saw it on. I did a kayfabe interview for.
Yeah, bro.
For
I'm promoting that. They sponsor my show. Your DVD just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the one thing where we're coming home. It was '97, and Bischoff said, "I'm going to put fucking McMahon out of business." It was me, Scott, Randy, Hogan, and Eric. Before I could even get it out of my mouth, Hulk went, "Oh, bro, brother, you'll never put that. You'll have to drive a stake in that, man." So, because Hogan knows Vince better than anybody.
Yeah,
and it was just like we were all just like, you have no idea all you're doing. Like right now, like it would have been so great, in retrospect, if we could like go back in a time machine. It's when Vince turned around with the I'm bringing the poison with the NWO. If Vince would have spun around in his chair and had his face painted like Braveheart.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm gonna ask you a hypothetical question, and I asked Steve Austin something similar, but this is a little bit different, bro. I had Austin. I said, bro, listen. I said, out of all the great matches you had and all the villains and everything else like that, I said, screw all that. I said, I want you to rate for me if wrestling was legitimate and real. I hate to say that, but out of Patterson, Briscoe, and Vince, rate them for me of who legitimately would have been the toughest. And hands down, Steve said Briscoe. No doubt about it.
Sure.
He said Vince second because, he characterized Vince as, bro, Vince would be one of those crazy fighters. If he...
Kill him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said. And he said, with Pat, Pat is Pat. So Pat was third. Kevin, I got to ask you this hypothetically because, bro, this was a shoot. I was there, and it was just the two of us. So nobody could really tell this story. Bischoff went out and challenges Vince to show up at the pay-per-view to fight him. Bro, it's just me and Vince at his house. Nobody else was writing at that time. Bro, he is irate. Stephanie is graduating from Boston College. I think what Boston College or BU, whatever she went to. She was graduating that same day. He's trying to figure out how to go to her graduation and still get on a plane to go to the pay-per-view because Bischoff simply challenged him. That, Vince. That's what it was. It was the freaking challenge, bro. Kevin, if Vince would have showed up, what do you think would have happened that night?
Eric Bischoff would be wearing a Pirates patch over one of his fucking eyes.
Really? Bro, the black belt karate wouldn't have done the job to Vince, huh?
I'm going to tell you, I was at SummerSlam, and I'm still the same guy. I have no business having the entire show, but for some reason, I've just fallen across the entire show, so I'm reading through the whole show. And over the top of me, somebody chops me so hard that my heart almost stops. And in my mind, I'm thinking, who in the fuck in this building has the balls to chop me that hard across my chest. And I turn around and I look and I hear, ha, 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 ha.
Really?
And it was Vince.
Yeah.
I said, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
The thing about Vince is you might be able to beat the dog shit out of him, but if he gets that set of balls out, he'll smother you with those.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that's got a bigger set of balls than that dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I saw the federal government take a drilling unit up his ass and try to frack it, and he no-sold it. I mean, you can say whatever you want to. Anybody that's works for Vince McMahon knows. I think his name was Mick, and that was it. And he just added the man.
Yeah.
Because that dude is all man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He is a man. Vince McMahon is a man. He's a man's man. But Eric Bischoff's a man's man.
Yeah.
You know, they're both. I always say this. People talk, shit about Eric sometimes. Like, oh, he had Turner's money. You know what, though? He's the only motherfucker on this earth that can look you in the eyes and say, I beat Vince McMahon at his game for 2 years. Nobody else ever touched Vince. Got close.
Yeah.
Vince went into territory to territory and ate every territory, took their stars. I've always said that if I was to make the movie, remember in Patton when Rommel fucking destroys them in South Africa, and then the second time they bring Patton in, and Patton's lighting Rommel up, and he says, Rommel, you magnificent son of a bitch, I read your book. And that's what Bischoff did. Yeah. Bischoff took what he learned and what he saw from Vince McMahon and beat him. And the thing is Vince is so brilliant, and Vince is he's the innovator of this business. It took him 18 to 22 months to adjust his focus to see what he had to do. Could you imagine right now pulling the hand out of Mae West on Raw when they think that Mark Henry's got her pregnant, and they pull a rubber hand out of a 78-year-old woman? Yeah. That show was Raw. I mean, I don't have to tell you.
Yeah. Bro, I'm watching the show today from the Attitude Era. I actually had D'Lo on today. He was our guest for the show. Bro, it's when Triple H is getting the girls to lift up their shirts, and they're lifting them up, and they have bras, and Triple H is saying, no, pop them out, and the girls are popping them out, and I'm sitting here saying, oh my God, can you imagine this today?
I mean, Raw was just that, man.
Yeah.
But that was my whole thing, Like, I remember one time when they were first starting to make their push. I was in the back of a limo going back to the hotel with Bischoff. He goes, how are they doing this? I said, Val Venis was in the shower with Jenna Jameson tonight. I said, now Val Venis is over. I mean, it's like he didn't have to. He'll never have to have a match.
Yeah. Kevin, you're gonna pop for this huge. I got to tell you this because I just saw this today. Okay. I'm looking at the Raws where Shawn was away for a while, right after WrestleMania 14. Now he's come back and they've put him on color, okay? So, bro, Val Venis comes out. He throws to the big screen. He's got a new video, The Land of the Rising Venus, okay? So Val's in bed, and obviously there's somebody at the foot of the bed, crawling up on Val, doing the favor to Val while Val's talking, right? Bro, Shawn turns around and says, because, the person's, mosaiced out, you can't make out who it is. Shawn turns around and says, why are they blurring out the agents? Bro, and I'm sitting there saying, oh my God, where has that gone?
Okay, like the network, you can't DVR the network, correct?
No, you can't. No.
Okay, so when are they going to realize they need a WWE after hours?
Yeah, oh God, bro. Yeah.
Friday night, an hour show, and just let it go.
Oh, bro, it would be
If your
incredible.
kids are up at 1 o'clock, that's your fucking fault.
Bro, one guy, I think X-Pac plant-faced rock or something like that. Shawn sat there and called it a reverse carpet muncher. It was incredible, bro. Like, it's unbelievable. I want to go to TNA. All right, bro, here we are, Kevin. 5 years ago, main event Mafia is on top. Hogan's there, Bischoff's there, Russo's there. Maybe everybody's not getting along, okay, bro? At the end of the day, we're up to 2.1 million people. 2.1 million people. Bro, the third hour of Raw this past week did 2.8 million people.
Right.
Okay.
I'm with you on
Okay.
this.
Kevin, how do we go from 2.1 million people to our third network and 350,000 people? What happens?
People that have no business making decisions are making decisions. And all of a sudden, structure-wise, once again, they were very WCW. Success was coming their way. They had no merchandising. They had, they just didn't have the auxiliary ways to make money. Like WCW, if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would have made 17.5% each on the sale of NWO shirts, we would have tripled our salary.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't part of the deal. Steve Austin goes, puts 316 out, gets 50% of that, and turns out a T-shirt every month, and Steve Austin makes $25 million a year. And we're trying, the people that, you go from Hulk, Bischoff, you, me, Scott, Jeff,
Sting,
Kurt.
Kurt.
Yeah. My whole thing is Booker leaves, and they disbanded the Main Event Mafia. But they put Samoa Joe in, who wasn't a world champion. The thing was, everybody was a world champ. Like, they did some things there that just were like, ugh. But it was always forced. Because I saw you so many times, you were just like, you had the same kind of look on your face as you did when you came back to WCW.
Yeah.
Do I need to tie my hands behind my back, Kevin, to tell you that my hands are tied behind my back? No, you don't have to tell me that.
Yeah, Kevin, you can't work for a boss that is afraid to and won't make decisions. You can't. That creates utter chaos. And the problem, bro, listen, I don't have to say that because we all preference it this way. We all love Dixie Carter as a woman. We all preface it that way. You can't personally know Dixie and not like her. So let's get that off the table.
She's a sweet lady.
She's a sweet lady, but let's get that off the table. To me, the fall was she never wanted to make a decision because she always felt a little intimidated being in the wrestling business. So she never felt confident it was the right decision. So she would bring in other people to make those decisions. And every time another person came in, those decisions would be different, and we'd go this way, and we'd go this way, and we'd go this way. But that all stemmed from the boss not being able to make a decision. That's where it all comes from, and it's still there to this day.
When I came to Vince in '93, it was him and Pat, and they had basically a legal pad, but it was this book, and it was inside of this leather binder, and it'd be Royal Rumble, and you'd be like, Vince, where do you see me at Survivor Series? Where do you see me at SummerSlam? And he'd be like,
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yes.
Let's see you against Mabel. Like, we're booked. There's a reason why they call it he has the pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because everything can be erased. Somebody gets hurt, it can be erased. But I've always said that that's probably the biggest problem in our business. I got a lot of heat for a lot of years for saying things like, 90% of the creative crew from WWE is writing for a show that basically is about sex and violence, and 90% of the guys have never been laid, and 95% of the guys have never been in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So where are they pulling this from? You know, like a Tarantino movie? Like I mean, you know what I mean? I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like nowadays.
Yeah.
And this was my favorite. I came back against CM Punk. Guy comes up to me and says, I was looking at some of your early Diesel interviews and I came up with this. I'm like, so you archived back to 93 when I spoke in sound bites, and this is, you know, you got one of the better mic guys in the business, and this is what, in other words, what you want me to basically do is not say a fucking word. I got heat for calling him a Waffle House chef. Like, I got heat for all that shit because that was me.
Yeah.
But that was what made the business.
Yeah.
You know, I could have, and if you remember this, my angle with Phil, I go down to SummerSlam and I powerbomb him. Del Rio comes down, cashes his money in the bank, and wins. So the next Monday he comes out and he walks back and forth on the top of the stage and does like kind of a Don Rickles, oh, laugh out loud. I thought, you know, I got a text from my sister, LOL, I thought he was dead. How much does the belt mean if when your music plays, if you don't beeline straight down to the ring and come at me? Because at that point, then you're telling me you're my bitch. So you're going to run your mouth, but you're not going to come down and attack me? I came out of the crowd and cost you a championship. Mm-hmm. Like, where's the money? The money would be if he would have came at me, rocked me, I would have rolled out. That would have been money. He never came down. You know, that's 101.
Yeah.
He's the babyface. And on top of that, it's just like, God forbid if I would have cut a promo saying, I cost you the belt, you're up there running your mouth. Jesus, dude, like, what are you, 31? I'm 55 years old. Like, what are you afraid of? You know, I got bad. You're talking shit about my knees, but you ain't coming down and testing those knees.
Yeah, yeah.
If I would have cut a shoot promo, I could have buried that kid.
Yeah.
I would have said, pipe bomb? Fuck you, pipe job.
Yeah.
Come down here and give me a pipe job, because you're my bitch.
Yeah.
That would have been the old fucking school promo.
Yeah.
And then he would have fucking looked at it and said, fuck that. Then we'd have cut that promo, but it never happened. But that's what's killed this. Yeah. That's what's killed this. Guys are coming down saying, I'm going to kick your butt. You know what? Go to a 6th grade fucking bus stop. Kids are like, fucking take me down to my fucking, into my shaft, bitch.
Yeah. That's
what they talk in the 6th grade.
Yeah. 7th
grade girls are saying they get the best head in class. I'm not fucking proud that our society's that way, you know? I mean, I'm not saying it's chill. I'm just saying it is what it fucking is. So don't come out and tell me that you're Monday Night Raw when you're Monday Night Contrived.
Well, Kevin, here's something. Listen, I'm just going to be honest with you. And, bro, listen, I try to be very, very, very careful. You know, I mean, I'm so thankful, like, you know, you, Shawn, you know, bro, Steve, guys come on this show that I know still have ties to, WWE. And, bro, I would never, ever put you guys in a compromising position. I wouldn't, okay? But, Kevin, here's the thing. I don't have ties with the WWE, and they have a lot of heat with me now, Kevin, because I'm very critical of the product. And, Kevin, it has nothing to do with, you know, me being bitter, me not working there. It has to do with during a period of time when I worked there, I know what we did. And I know what we put into it. And I know what our work ethic was. And today, here's what I see. Bro, very rarely in my 25 years in this business, Kevin, did I ever see guys phone it in in the ring. I say this all the time, bro. Wrestlers from the top guy to the curtain jerker are blue collar guys. Whether there's 100 people there or 100,000, those guys never phone it in. But Kevin, here's what I see from a writer's seat, from a producer's seat. Every week I see the Zigglers and the Bray Wyatts, and I can go on and on, in that ring busting their ass. The problem is I'm not seeing that other side that is supposed to help these guys become stars. I'm not seeing the writing. I'm not seeing the producing. I'm not seeing the storytelling. I'm seeing in-ring action where these guys, and bro, we've lost a lot of psychology in the matches. They're taking crazy chances with crazy bumps, and guys are getting hurt every night. This is what my beef is, Kevin, and this, as a fan of wrestling since 1971, this is what my beef is. I grew up on a wrestling business, Kevin, that was built on characters, character development, and storylines, and you built to the big match. Yes. Bro, and that was during San Martino, during Bob Backlund, during the early days of WrestleMania, through the Attitude Era. The foundation of the business never changed. The foundation was always the same. Yes, you evolved it, but the foundation was the same. Somewhere along the line, Kevin, in the last couple of years, we've taken the emphasis off of the characters and the story and the entertainment, the spectacle. We've taken the emphasis off of that and we've put it onto, and I hate to say this, but the in-ring choreographed fight. That's where the emphasis is nowadays, and this is what I keep saying over and over. If you're not a wrestling fan, and you are a casual fan, a casual television viewer, you were tuning in for everything but the wrestling. That's what we were tuning in for. It was like a regular television show. Now, since the emphasis is on wrestling, that audience is getting narrower and narrower and narrower, because it's, if you don't like wrestling, you're not going to watch the show. Now, you know, Shawn, like you, from a business perspective, he had a great point to me when I interviewed him. And he goes, Vince, like, I understand all that and I get all that, but at the end of the day, it's dollars, it's cents, and it's money. And, you know, with the network and everything else and 101,000 people at WrestleMania, bro, they're making money hand over fist. But my argument is, how much money would they be making if it were the type of show and the effort and the energy was put in the show with the same energy and effort we put during the Monday Night Wars? I'm not saying, you know, bro, I'm not saying, you know, replay that show. I'm just talking about the work ethic and the blood and the sweat and the tears we put into every show, because it was that head-to-head competition and we had to win. If that type of effort was being put in it today, how much money would they be making? And I don't understand how and why the emphasis went from entertainment to the in-ring match, because I think you've alienated a lot of people along the way, and that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, when you and I were at TNA, and when you and I were when you came in Denver, when you came back in Denver at WCW, and I think that we both, you know, had the same analogy of, after 5 to 7 minutes, nobody really cares. Like right now, I go to signings, and 70% of the kids in my line are 6 to 12-year-old kids that are throwing up the click sign, that have watched our work on the network and have deemed us who they want to emulate or who their favorites are. They walk up and see a gray-haired 57-year-old Kevin Nash. It don't matter to them because that's the guy from the NWO. Mm-hmm. That's the guy I watch on TV. That Attitude Era, that's the guy I dig. They got my doll. They got a vintage shirt. So when I'm signing those things, you know, I'm saying to myself, like, how is it we still have that much impact on the business? We shouldn't. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, you're going to tell me you're going to watch fucking Babe Ruth, like a game that Babe Ruth played? You know, in the dead ball era? Like, you're not going to do that if they had that availability. The only way, there's, like, people always say, would you ever come back to wrestling? And I say to myself, I would come back and be Ziggler's Diesel because that's all he needs. Number one, he's not a face. Ziggler's a heel. And I wouldn't have to say a word because he can talk. I've already had mine. But he needs somebody to for the bigger guys, he just needs somebody to, you know, stop him like he does the same thing Shawn did. You know, he takes every bump in the world, takes every beating in the world from the guy. And then usually, I mean, they beat him. But to me, I mean, his in-ring performance is as good as anybody's in the business right now.
Yeah.
He works so hard. You know, I'd like to teach him, you know, the little things that Shawn learned where, you know, yeah, you can flat back every bump, but, you know, every third one is kind of nice to take a punch and bounce off the ropes.
Yeah.
Like I mean, the ropes are there for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's no reason, you don't have to flat back. Let the ropes catch you and then, you know, drop to a knee as you hold on to the rope and he comes over, gives you a couple of shots, you fall over your side, gets you up, goes to send you off, boom, kick the knee. I mean, you know, the psychology of, but, you know, taking 25 flatbacks a night, man, it's just, I would like to, you know, sit down and just tell these guys. And for a big guy, I bumped a lot. You know, I fed comebacks and stuff. And at 56 years old, like, I get out of the bed, like, I'm Jim Otto. But if somebody called me and said, hey, you want to hook up with Ziggler? I'd be like, I could do that.
Yeah.
That it'd be the only thing on earth, or manage a new NWO stable.
Yeah.
That would be the only two things that would really excite me in wrestling.
Yeah. Kevin, do you have, looking back, bro, do you have any regrets? Is there anything you would have done differently?
I was kind of a dick, you know, but I look at it and I say, like, I was never a dick without it being completely contrived. Mm-hmm. It was part of the work.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, yeah. It was always, you know, I never did anything that wasn't pretty well calculated.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I learned the streets early and I got in this business, and I learned this business early. I didn't learn how to work, but I learned how to manipulate. And, you know, you can be the greatest worker in the world, but the work's backstage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the true work. The work of this business is the politics. I remember when I went back to TNA and they put out those sheets and you had to sign in and all this other shit, and I would just put, for my name, I put 1099. They, after about 6 or 7 weeks of it, they finally, you know, they called me and they said, you know, I don't understand what you're doing with this, but, you know, you need to be there on time. I'd show up at 4:30 for, you know, 11 o'clock, show up. And I said to them, I said, you know, and I just sent them a fax, and the fax was Florida employment, and it had 10 things that the difference between being an independent contractor and an employee. And number one was you have to show up to work on time. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm painting your house and I tell you, Vince, I'm going to paint your house, I'm going to charge you $2,300, and you tell me I want it done by next Saturday. That's our agreement. We shake hands on it. That's all I have to do.
Yeah.
But the first day, if I'm not there at 7 a.m., I show up at fucking 8:35. You can't come out and say you're fired.
Yeah.
Because I'm an independent contractor. My deal is to make, you're telling me that I got to do one pre-tape and do a match. I don't need 13 hours.
Right.
Pre-tape and put a 6-minute match together.
Right.
So I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah.
So when they came at me with that, and I just looked at them, I said, it's real simple, guys. I would just like to know, in writing, what my 401k is, what my insurance is. Like, since I am an employee, because you make me come here in time, I'd like to know what my benefits are. And I just would always look at them and say, how about this? How about you leave me the fuck alone? And I won't smarten the locker room up.
Right.
That you're doing a gross injustice to everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I lied. I'm going to tell everybody else.
Anyway, there you go. Yeah, Kevin, I had to play that same card because, like it was about a year ago or something, John Gaborik basically told me, like, he's not going to let any of the boys come on my show, unless I put, TNA over. And I was like, bro, do you not understand these guys are independent contractors who need to promote themselves to make money? You cannot legally tell them you could do this interview, but you can't. They're in. And the minute I said that, he totally backed off.
Nobody gets it.
No.
That's like when I went back in 2013, and my longevity doctor was giving me a half a cc of Deca, along with a cc of testosterone and anthate. So the WWE doctor says, you failed the test. You came back dirty for Deca. And I said, well, how can I be dirty for Deca when my doctor faxed you, a longevity doctor faxed you, what I'm doing? He says, well, there's no protocol that we know of that calls for Deca. I said, well, you're an MD. You're not a longevity specialist. And on top of that, like, I'm a 1099, so do you have a problem with Kevin Nash? Because if you do, you can talk to the president of Spartacus Incorporated, who happens to be Kevin Nash.
Right.
You can discuss Kevin Nash, the talent, because as far as I'm concerned, and once again, you're telling me I got to be someplace on time. Like, you're telling me what I can and can't do to my body, but yet you're not giving me insurance?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. Like, no. They gave me a contract that was the equivalent of War and Peace. I've been around long enough. There's only 3 things that matter in a contract: duration, compensation, and terms to terminate. There were 39 reasons that they could terminate. The 39th reason in the contract was, or for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
So why are there 38 before that?
Right.
It's just like I said, I'm not signing that.
Yeah.
And it was Johnny Ace was doing it. And Paul, they turned it over to Paul. And Paul came in and he goes, dude, he said, I said, no, dude. I said, it's as simple as this. You and I are fucking, like, I consider you like as good a friend as I have on this fucking planet. We'll shake hands. And if it doesn't work for me, I'll leave. If it doesn't work for you, you just tell me to go home. Period. And he was like, cool. And that's exactly our contract. Man. And that's, to me, I mean, thank God I have that relationship with Paul.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling that I was on my way out at 55 years old when Michael Hayes called me up. He goes, well, we're thinking about having you in a TLC in a ladder match. And I said, after 13 fucking knee operations, 25 years in the business, never had a fucking ladder match. You know what? Fuck yeah. Let's have it. I said, I'm going over, right? He laughed. I said, oh, so in other words, I'm taking a fall off a 20-foot ladder. All right. I went home, fucking cut my hair off.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done.
That's it.
I got you. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to send me my fucking my exit visa.
Yeah. Kevin, I want to ask you one last question because I want to see how you would handle this. Okay, now we have to we got to compare apples to oranges here because otherwise it wouldn't be fair. Okay, I worked in an era with guys like you, guys like Shawn, The Rock, Hogan, all these guys where, bro, unless you were a newbie or unless you were a rookie just a couple of years in the business, I don't think you guys ever had a problem speaking up. That doesn't work for me, brother. You guys never had a problem speaking up. I never had a problem with you guys speaking up because the way I looked at it, I was like, that's their livelihood. The Kevin Nash character, that is his livelihood. He better care about that character more than I do. So, I never had a problem with any of that. I've seen, Shawn go toe-to-toe with Vince, Austin go toe-to-toe with Vince. That was part of the job and the business, okay? Now, keep in mind, there were other places to go. So if you got in an argument with Vince, if you stepped out of line, if you went a little over the edge, okay, well, we can go to WCW. Okay, right. Fast forward to 2016. There is no option of anywhere else to go. No place else to go. But in the meantime, Kevin, what I see is a lot of guys that really have the potential to break out if they were just allowed to run. And you can see the chains on these guys and they're being held back and do this, don't do that, cut this promo, say this, don't say that, and like good soldiers, they're doing what they're told to do because there is no place else to go and this is their livelihood and this is their job. But the fact of the matter is, if they don't speak up, they're not going to be allowed to break out and they're not going to be able to maximize their monetary potential of what they possibly could make. If you were one of the boys in today's business, Kevin, where okay, there are no options here. It's the WWE or bust. However, as Kevin Nash, I know I'm better than that. I know if they let me take a chance and let me do it my way, give me the mic, give me the room, I know I could make not only me, but them a hell of a lot more money. How would you handle that situation if you were a 28-year-old kid in the WWE today?
Well, I mean, the structure of the show is so tight. Like when I came back with CM Punk, it was written for him to blister me. I had like 2 sentences rebuttal. It wasn't like the old days where you just somebody blistered you and then you just go off script and blister them back. It was always bullet point. Now it's scripted. It's actually scripted, and they actually rehearse before the show. You go through your interviews out in the arena and stuff. So it's just a different animal. I know that when there was a huge transition, that Attitude Era talent left, I think they were forced to pretty much really tighten the reins and take as much control as they could over characters because the guys were green. But, I look at it and I see, I love the NXT product. I really enjoy the NXT product. I have them send me a DVD of the NXT product every week. So I watch NXT. That's like my show. I'm so tired of somebody coming down to a pop with their music, money, pop, they show up, come down, cut a promo, halfway through the promo, somebody comes down, interferes. Just one time, I would love while that person's coming down to the ring, for the other person in the ring to just continue their promo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What makes you, because their music plays, what makes you stop talking?
Right.
And then when they come down and talk, just continue to talk over them. And then all of a sudden, now you've got something that feels organic.
Kevin, if you looked at all the wrestling nuances, literally, you looked at all of them and just changed those nuances, you changed the business. For instance, how many times, bro, does one guy, dump the other guy outside of the ring, and then all of a sudden the ropes become a brick wall and we're not allowed to go to the outside and get them? You change the little things like that, you change the entire business.
You have the verbal spat, and the guy punches your stomach and sends you off the rope. You grab the ropes, you sit there, he comes at you, and it's the baby faces coming at you, and you backdrop him over the top on the floor.
Right.
And you go and you get on top of him and you beat the dog shit out of him.
Right.
And then now you cut your heel promo over him, throw the mic on his body and walk back. And that's the match at the end of the night. I'm way more apt to watch that than somebody sitting up at the top of the ramp telling me what you're going to do to me at the end of the night.
Yeah. It's just habit. It's habit, bro. It's habit and routine. That's it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But I mean, like you said, it's about money. 101,000 people at WrestleMania. So how can you and I tell them that's not how it should be? It's not how it should be for you and I.
Yeah.
But we're smart as fuck. Yeah. We're so smart to the business. It's like we're watching Apocalypse, and we're picking it apart.
Right. No, that's yep.
I think they've become very complacent. I think Paul has taken NXT and drawn it back, like to more of a purist.
Mm-hmm.
It's the storylines aren't very complex, but it's the old Bret Hart. If you're better than me, then why do I have the belt? And I want to watch that.
Yeah.
Like their championship matches mean something. They don't ship belts every 3 weeks. Yeah. For me, Zack Ryder to win at WrestleMania and then to turn around and lose the Miz the next night. Yeah, he had his Mania moment, but to me it's like that's a guy that basically was told, go fuck yourself, and he just refused to take that and just got himself over and has kept himself over, and then they did reward him with the WrestleMania moment, but it's like, Miz does movies for him and does a lot of other things. It's just like, you can't give the kid a 2-3 month run.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, Kevin, one thing that really took away from me at WrestleMania that I really, really, really noticed was so many of the matches we had already seen some form of them like 3 or 4 times before the big match at WrestleMania. So like when Jericho and AJ step into that ring, I'm sitting at home saying, what am I going to see that I haven't seen them do before? Because, I mean, they had so many matches before they got to WrestleMania. The New Day and the League of Nations, same thing. All these guys had worked so much before they got to the WrestleMania match, whereas in the past, you guys never touched till you got, bro, Andre and Hulk, for crying out loud. You guys never touched till we finally are. Now we're going to see the match. But when you've seen it 3 or 4 times before Mania, the old saying, it takes the bloom off the rose, or the same. That's what it did for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, you brought Gallows and the other dude in from the Bullet Club. If you'd have brought those guys in, but Jericho, 2 guys, had 6 mans going into Mania and had the singles, at Mania between AJ. I mean, but I'm just happy for me, man, because like AJ's worked his ass off. Yep. He's put his time in.
Yep.
It does my heart good to see AJ like excel right now.
Yeah, and he's such a great human being too. I mean, he's such a great kid, man.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, just very deserving.
Hey, Kevin, you guys still remain tight. I mean, you, Shawn, Scott, Shawn, you're still really tight, huh, bro?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like we don't have to touch base on like a weekly, even a monthly basis. And it was really hard because, Paul's so busy. I saw Paul for probably 10 minutes during Mania weekend. Of all the guys, I guess because of our love for bodybuilding and whatever, but Paul and I became closer to Paul quicker than anybody else. It was really funny. Paul told me, Paul and I were huge Arnold marks. Now like Paul and Arnold are friends. He says, like, some days, he says, like Arnold and him be on the phone. He's just like, he's got to go to a meeting. He's got to and Arnold's telling him these great stories. And like, Paul's got to go Arnold, I'm sorry, man.
Blowing Arnold off the phone, man. Yeah.
Maybe not disrespectfully, just that he's like got another, he's got, he's high up, he's two in command. And it's just like, he said, geez, he said, I remember the first time I met him, and now it's just like, I'm like, oh God, like, Arnold, I'm sorry, man, I gotta go. You're talking about like life changes. But the funny thing is, if Paul had changed one iota from the day I met him as Terra Rising coming in from WCW, he wouldn't make reference to that story. And that's the beauty of him, man. He's such, his parents are like his family is like the greatest. He's one of those people like that. I don't think that the word dysfunction ever came into his life until he got in this business.
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless him too. God bless him for him.
Yeah, bro. I think I was tight with him when we worked together. I mean, bro, when he was first Hunter Hearst Helmsley and he had all those different chicks on his arm, bro, I used to have to write every single promo, and we were there till all hours of the night till he got it down and got it down and got it down. And then, Shawn leaves, he becomes DX. So I worked really, really tight with him, bro. Bro, I remember after the Garden incident and they were dogging him, I remember pulling him to the side and saying, bro, you got to get through this. This is a test. Walk with your head high. You got to get through. And bro, I really love the guy. What a gentleman. Kevin, it's tough because I think he has heat with me now, and it really, really bothers me that I don't have the opportunity. Like, I could talk to you and I could talk to Shawn, and I love that. I talked to Scott when I saw him a couple of weeks ago. I can't talk to Hunter.
And I you know what, man, I'm telling you right now, I know Paul, and we all have to make a living. You're making a living, and you're a journalist, and that's what you do right now. You do a podcast, and you do it well. And I mean, we've always. I wouldn't come on here if I thought I was going to be ambushed by you in any form or fashion. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I'm smart enough to defend myself.
Yeah.
So I really, in my heart, do not think that you have any heat with Paul.
Yeah, well, maybe one day, bro. Kevin, I offered, the business was really like hitting a low. I offered to go help them for free. I said, I don't want anything. I want to help you. I want to contribute. I want to, be a part of making it special and great again. Bro, I offered my services for free. And I was just like, all right, so like, it's like you said, Kevin, listen, I am a journalist now. I am a critic. If it's good, I'm going to say it's good. If it's bad, I'm going to say it's bad. But with all due respect, Vince McMahon is not sending me a paycheck every week. I've got a family I've got to support. I've got to do a job here. And all I have is my honesty and my integrity. That's all I have.
And the thing is, too, is just like, you're not saying that this is the world's opinion,
right? Of course not. And I'm not saying. And you don't have to agree. I don't care if you agree with me or not. It's my opinion.
Just your opinion.
Right. That's it.
I mean, you don't need closure. I never had a last match. I never was that. I never. I mean, I think I've had a pretty good career, but I was never given the ability to say, "Hey, I'd like this to be my last match."
Yeah.
My last match basically was, "We're going to put you in a ladder match." Okay, I get it. Fuck me. Which, I mean, did it hurt my feelings? No, not really.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't hurt my feelings. But at the same time, it's just like, I mean, I get it, but I didn't get to come in the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
So fuck what I think in this shit business I'd get to go out to.
That's true. That's a good way to put it, man. That's a real good way to put it. Yeah.
So that's my whole thing.
Yeah.
So all you have is your body of work. Your body of work speaks itself. You don't need closure from anything.
Yeah.
I can look at you and say you booked some wonderful fucking TV. And you were as big a part as any fucking guy out there bouncing during the fucking Attitude Era. Without Russo and Ferrara, there's a lot of things that don't happen on that side of the fucking page. You don't need to fucking validate yourself through fucking anything.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. That means a lot coming from you. It
No,
really
just
does.
saying.
Yeah.
We are who we are. There's
Yeah.
a reason. When Vince Russo calls Kevin Nash says, "Fuck yeah, I'll do your fucking podcast."
Yeah.
Out of respect.
Yeah, I know that. And that means a lot to me, bro. It really
I'm
does.
saying, so fuck, you know, haters are gonna hate. That's just the way it is. They always say, you know, when you were a kid, if you can count your friends on one fucking hand, you're lucky.
That's true. Yep.
I can count mine on two. So I'm fucking beyond blessed.
Yeah, that's true, man.
And if I go beyond that and just look at people that I know that would have my back if shit went down, I'd probably have 50.
Yeah.
And so would you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, bro. I do that. I do. Coming from you, that really means a lot to me.
And since Matt Bourne is dead, God rest his soul, we can say shit's fucking fake.
Yeah. Bro, I can't tell you what this means to me, Kevin. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Like I said, man, we're boys, man. We always will be.
Yeah, we always will be. I love you, bro. I love you like a brother. I really do.
Love you too, bro.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon, bro. Bro, you got to do this again for me.
Yeah, anytime you need me back, man, you just give me a shout.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
All right, Vince.
All right, man. Take care.
God bless, man.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. Add another swerve and then put it on a poll again. Put it on a poll again. Put it on the pole again. And our square to quad is gonna get emotional as I wait to overbook the damn cards.